Let me say good morning to everyone, and look, it's good to be back on the campus of the University of Houston. I spent 4 years here, and I spent several years in this particular building at Agnes Arnold. So some things change, but some things remain just the same. And this auditorium, they may have changed the siding, but the seating is still there, and I used to sit right back there, trying to hide from the professor. But even with hundreds of people in here, you can still be spotted. And let me just say good morning to everyone. It's my honor to be with you. To welcome again you here as the mayor of the city of Houston. I didn't come by myself. Carl Salazar is here. He's over the Veterans Affairs at the city of Houston, and Bill Kelly is the government director, but has done a lot of work with respect to mental health care. And in fact, I pulled him away from mental health care to come to the city. And I know this is the fourth Veterans Mental Health Summit, the first to be held at the University of Houston. So go Cougs and come see us play Oklahoma in the first game. 52-14, Houston. As the mayor of the city, did I say that? As the mayor of the city of Houston, I am keenly aware of the important role Houston plays for our veterans. Let me just see how many veterans are here today. Just get it. Oh, man. All right. Let me thank each and every one of you for your service. The greater Houston area has the second largest concentration of veterans than any other place in the United States, with the exception of LA. LA is the only city that has more veterans than we have. We have more than 200,000 veterans in our region, and that number is growing, and I'm so proud to have each and every one of you in the city. In fact, with so many veterans coming, we're the fourth largest city in the country, but soon to be the third. We will pass Chicago fairly soon. Yeah, clap for that. When talking about home and being in the region, my thoughts of my late brother Charles, that we buried just a few months ago, was also a veteran, graduated from Carver High School. I'm a native Houstonian. We're all native Houstonian, come from a large family, 6 boys, 3 girls, 9, mom and dad. Neither one of them graduated from high school. And so the significance of that is that when my brother Charles, who graduated from Carver, valedictorian, he was the smartest of all 9, and decided that because of the financial condition, my dad died of cancer when I was 13, and my mom was the CEO of the Turner household, rearing 9 kids, and she was a CEO. And so when Charles graduated, instead of going to University of Houston, he elected to enlist into the Air Force just a few months after graduating, and stayed there in the Air Force for 3 years, was honorably discharged. But when he was discharged, though, he had a number of mental challenges. And my mom, this person who didn't graduate from high school, was his guardian. And she was his guardian from the time he came out until the time she passed away. And she passed in December of 2014. And there were a number of mental challenges with Charles. And we were at the VA many times, in and out. Over a period of time, his situation did stabilize, so much so, and he always stayed with my mom in the same house in which we were born and reared, 3005 Starlings in Northwest Houston. And so over a period of time where she was taking care of him, and she continued to be his guardian, situation stabilized, and then she ended up getting ill with Alzheimer's, and it was Charles, this veteran, who became, in a sense, her guardian over her, even though she was legally his guardian. But he was there in that home. He would always go and sit on the front porch. I don't care how hot it was. It could be 100 degrees, and he would be sitting on that porch. And I don't care how cold it was, he would go out and sit on that porch. But he became her guardian, and not just of her, but he became the protector of 3005 Starlings. He always kept up with all of us. If I was in the legislature, he knew I was there. If I was on television, when I came by, he could tell me what I said. And he was the quiet one. Which means that when we all gathered at the house on special days, because my mom, even though, the second half of the Turners went to the University of Houston, and we went to Texas Women University and all of that. So we got two halves. The first half of the Turners, they went to work to help my mom take care of the second half. I'm in the second half. And so when we all got together, he was the one who helped maintain the peace. But the care that he received over an extended period of time helped change his situation. If you could have seen and been around when he came back, and then seen him over the years at the time that he passed, you simply would have been amazed. I say that to say when our veterans come home, they come home in facing, as you know, many different things. Some may need just jobs to transition. Some are looking for business opportunities, and that's one of the reasons my call is with the city in the office, to assist veterans in getting jobs and assist veterans in getting opportunities to be a part of their own business. There are some who simply need housing, and the city of Houston have come a long ways at ending veteran homelessness. Doesn't mean you don't have veterans that are not homeless. It simply means that there's a house available. But sometimes they would require that added attention to get them in a home. The house may be there. Doesn't necessarily mean they want to be there. And so you gotta work very carefully with them. They need our attention. And sometimes we miss simply because we are not listening. And sometimes we miss simply because we just don't see the signs. We just don't take the time to really pay attention. And sometimes veterans will come in, whether it's to the VA or someplace else. And if you ask them how they're doing, they're very proud. They just let me say they're doing fine. But unless you take the time, and unless you have that special touch to go beyond those words, you will simply miss. Just because a person says that I'm fine doesn't necessarily mean they are fine. Because if you ask my brother Charles on any day, how was he doing, he would immediately tell you, I'm fine. If you asked him how he feels, I'm fine, brother. If you asked if there's anything wrong, anything going on, no, I'm good, okay? But behind those words, there were a lot of things that were going on. And in society, we are missing because we simply want to hear the magical words, I am fine. And then we go to the next person. But we haven't fixed anything. The only thing we've done is put something on a sheet of paper saying Joe Blow was fine. And we miss. And my concern is over the years when it comes to veterans and mental health care, is that we have glazed over the problem and we have not attended to what's underneath. And we've placed them back in society. And they are now fending on their own. And it's not because they don't need the help. It's simply because we haven't gone the second, third, or fourth step. A few months ago in the city of Houston, in near North Houston, a young kid, 11-year-old, Josue Flores, was killed, stabbed several times. Veteran, Salvation Army, came out a few years ago, transient. He'd gone through the system and they placed him in the Salvation Army. But he needed a lot more attention. He needed a lot more care. It's not enough to place someone in housing and put a roof over their head and don't give them the wraparound services that they need. It's not enough. And we have to do more. And so that's what I'm finding out, not just as mayor. I was the legislator for 26 years, been mayor for 8 months. But I've lived with my brother for many, 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 many years. And I think where we fail on many different levels is just because someone has a roof over his head, and just because we give somebody something to eat, we can say we've done our job and step away. But there is so much more that's required. And so when incidents like Josue Flores, when it happens, quite frankly, let me be very direct and just say this. Can't just blame the veteran. Can't blame the veteran. The veteran served time for our country. He or she was out there on the line, went away, came back home. But we have an obligation to make sure that the person that we sent away, the person that we served, when the person comes back, we give that person everything that he or she needs in order to navigate through our system. And we cannot make ourselves, feel like we've done so much and pat ourselves on the back. Because what ends up happening when something goes wrong, just can't look at that veteran. We have to look at what we did or what we failed to do. And it will happen time and time and time again if we don't go that second, third, and fourth step. And so even with the Houston Police Department, what we've done is not enough to give people body cameras when you're interfacing with the society. We've got to do more than that. And so Houston is home to one of 6 national crisis intervention trainings, recognized centers in the entire country by the Department of Justice. And I'm very proud of that. Trainers have worked with law enforcement from top to bottom, focusing on the successful techniques that have helped officers manage the most difficult circumstances involving people who may be facing mental challenges. We have to learn how to de-escalate a situation. And just because somebody is being loud or someone is not being quote-unquote rational, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to engage, we have to respond with the sort of force that you may want to employ. And so we're training our officers to learn how to de-escalate, to recognize the signs, to be able to pull back and not simply go in and engage. But that takes training. And so what I would encourage all of you today, mental health providers and others, is let's make sure that we train as many people as we can to give them the tools and the resources to recognize what may be happening in a person's life when they're walking down the streets of the city of Houston, when they're in these communities, when you're interfacing with them, to recognize the signs and do what we can to make them as safe as possible. Because when you think about it, that's what veterans have done for our country. They have served in order to make us as safe as possible. And what I would ask, do they not deserve the same thing? And I think they do. And so in closing, I want to thank the veterans who are in attendance. I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for continuing to be on the front line and making society better than what it is today. To the mental health professionals here assembled, I want to thank you for your work. I want to thank you for your dedication. To the advocates who support our veterans community, I would simply say, do not quit in your cause. And I know sometimes the task can seem very daunting, but as the good book would say, don't grow weary in doing good things. In time, it does pay off. So thank you so very much. Welcome to the city of Houston. I wish you the very best.